The Siloam Springs Planning Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Song,
Here.
Williams, T. Williams. Sally,
Here.
McKinney,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Bernard.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Commissioners, you've all received the minutes from the meeting January the 9th, 2024. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion to accept the minutes as printed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. First item today is development permit approval, final plat development permit, FPC 2401.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. This is a final plat request for property located at the 200 block of Airport Road. The applicant is requesting to finalize Phase 1 of the Hillcrest subdivision consisting of 49 single-family residential lots on 28.8 acres. This request is being presented to the Planning Commission due to changes made to the phasing and some of the lot sizes. This is the overall subdivision. The area outlined in red is the proposed Phase 1 area, and the gray hatched area is the Phase 2 area. Below is a little snippet of the previously approved preliminary plat phasing. As you can see, they are now requesting to include the southern lots. That's those ones down here. Oh, the pin's not working, sorry. So it's the southern lots due to sewer availability at the time of construction. And this is a close-up of the northwest portion of the subdivision. As you can see, they will have access onto Airport Road. And this is a close-up of the northeast side of the subdivision. The applicant has revised the lot areas for Lot 49 and Tract A of the subdivision, previously referred to as Lots 59 and 58 on the preliminary plat. You can see Tract A has a label saying future lots. That is because that lot will not be buildable until Phase 2 of the development. It is only included in Phase 1 due to the right-of-way along Buffalo Gap there. And this is the southern portion of the subdivision. Again, previously the preliminary plat had this area as Phase 2 of the subdivision. However, it is now proposed as part of Phase 1 due to sewer availability at the time of construction. As a condition of approval, the applicant will be required to dedicate the detention pond lot. That's the overall site view for the property. Staff is recommending approval with the following conditions. The applicant must file this plat at the Benton County Circuit Clerk's office and provide one filed copy to the city within 45 days of board acceptance of this plat. And number 2, the applicant shall dedicate the detention pond lot to the city of Siloam Springs prior to certificate of occupancy issuance. Staff has received 2 phone calls of questioning nature on this request, and staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address this final development permit? Please come up to the microphone, state your name and your address.
My name is Rodney Duell. I live at 5008 David Drive, just north of the subdivision.
Okay.
That area to the south was at once a field with cattle in it, and the cattle walked along the fence line bordering between there. So there's a low area between the properties at that fence line. I'm concerned that since they took the sod off and have planted seed to grow grass, it will be a while before it will hold water back. I had suggested to them at previous meetings that the north edge of those lots, if they could channel a slight depression so that the water could funnel towards Airport Road. Nothing has been done that way yet. And I'd like to know if there's any plan, because I don't want to see water coming onto my property. In the 13 years I've been there, it has only happened once, when we had massive rains. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to address this issue? Is there anyone here from the developer? Name and address, please, and I hope you can answer the gentleman's question.
Yes, sir. Patrick Foy, I'm with HAF, the engineer on the project. I know that on these north lots, we did propose side yard drainage. Now, the houses have to get constructed. I have not had a chance to go out there prior to this meeting to look at the finished product. But we did propose swells on these side yards on this, because I remember in preliminary plat, they did make those notes. These are the only lots that we did show those side drains, trying to relieve that situation. I wrote down the gentleman's address, so I'm gonna look and see what we can do about those lots that are backing up to him, to look at the grading when those finished floors are set. Yes, sir.
Being no one approaching the microphone, commissioners, do you have questions or comments?
Megan, did you receive calls from the public? Is that what you were saying? You received 2 calls?
Yes, I received 2 calls of questioning nature from the public.
Can we ask what those were about and if they were satisfied?
The first one was regarding construction entrances and stuff like that. And then the second one did not tell me their concerns. They just asked when it would be on the agenda for tonight and what time the meeting would be. Sorry, I also forgot to mention the first one also did mention drainage as well.
Any other comments or concerns from our commissioners?
One more. Kevin, do you have any more input on the water situation?
Kevin Moore, city engineer. Specifically, the call that Megan was referring to, they were just concerned about possible changes to the property, and staff visited the site, and there didn't appear to be any changes at that shared property line that would cause any additional drainage from what they were already seeing prior to construction. And then along the north shared line, there are drains, side yard drains installed, channels that are already constructed in most of those locations, but staff can verify that at that specific property they have been installed correctly. Sorry, staff will go out to verify. We have not already.
Last call, commissioners. With those comments and statements, I'll entertain a motion for FP 24-01.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve final plat development permit FPC 2401 with.
I have a motion to approve FPC 2401 with staff's conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Kay Williams,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the Board of Directors on March the 5th, 2024. Next item on our agenda tonight is rezoning development permit RZ 24-01. Mr. Ben, I think it's your turn.
Indeed it is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner. So yes, before you is a rezoning request. We're at 809 East University Street. This is located just to the south of the Simmons Pet Food Factory off of East University. The request is to rezone .728 acres from the I-1 industrial zone, which is the purple zoning, to the R3, which is residential 2 family, which is what you see across the street on the general area map. And here is the site plan is provided by the applicant. This entire area is going to be rezoned. They're also doing a lot line adjustment and a right-of-way closure. But those are not part of today's agenda. Today, you're just looking at only the rezoning. And of course, we always show the future land use map. The designation there in the peach color is neighborhoods 2, which would be consistent with what they're requesting for 2 family. And as you can see in the picture, there's already existing 2 family right across the street. And here is the site plan of the property. They would be able to build when these lots get consolidated to this front area. And I was hoping the pen would work again, but it does not. So that front area just to the south of the 9 on the survey here, that would be the area where they would potentially put a house in. Obviously, there is flooding back in there, but they're going to be able to build as close as possible to the street to prevent that flooding issues. We did receive a call of a questioning nature just on what was going on out there, and we let everybody know what the request was. Staff is recommending approval with no needed conditions, and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address the rezoning permit RZ 2401? Okay, hearing none from the commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve RZ 24-01.
I have a motion to approve development development permit RZ, rezoning permit RZ 2401. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Kenny,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Sally.
Yes.
Motion to approve RZ 2401 is approved. It will go to the Board of Directors on March the 5th, 2024. Next item on tonight's agenda is special use permit SU 24-07. Ms. Megan, you're already up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. This is a special use request for property located at 523 South Oak Hill Street. The applicant is requesting to allow a single-family residential to state that there was a typographical error in this 24, not January 21st, which I think it says in your staff reports. So I apologize for that error. This is the applicant's letter of intent. Again, this is a standard short-term rental. They'll have the standard rules. They will rent out the entirety of the property. It's 15 days or less for short-term rentals, and that will be the sole use of this property. This is the overall site view of the property. Staff has received 1 phone call of opposition on this request, and staff is recommending approval with no needed conditions. Staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to address the special use permit SU 24-07? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
My name is Robert Hubbard. I live at 511 South Oak Hill, so I'm right next door.
Okay.
The property, last year, they rented it out to college students, which wasn't too bad because you had a consistent set of people there all the time. But in the last year, it's just been a constant circulation of different people there, so you never know who's there and who's not there, whether they're supposed to be there. Most of the time it hasn't been too bad, but we've had occasions where, and recently, where I've had people roaming across my backyard. Sometime, the other night, they had some, this is about a week ago, they had, looked like probably construction worker people. They're there for 2 or 3 days. They were out partying on the back deck and smoking pot, and we actually called the police about it. In fact, we had somebody who was out campaigning and came to our house and said, "You ought to smell what's next door." And so, but the police said, well, there wasn't anything they could do anything about it. But, you know, sometimes it's a little frustrating when you don't know who's next door to you, and then you look out and have people roaming across your backyard. On those things, it's been a little frustrating at times in terms of, like I say, when it was the college students living there, you knew you had a set group of people there that you knew who was there, and kind of, but with it being a rotating group of people constantly and somebody new all the time, we've had some issues with that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would, from the audience who would like to address this?
Hello, my name's Todd Varnado, 507 North Madison, and I'm the agent. We have a company, Wright Street Rentals. So I just wanted to say, happy to share my number. If you ever have any issues, you're welcome to let me know, and I'll address it immediately. So, but any other questions, I'd be glad to answer as well. So.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, seeing no one else approaching the microphone, it's your turn.
I have a question. Am I to understand that it's already being used as a short-term rental without a permit since people are coming back and forth? Is that what's happening?
Yes, that's correct. So the owners purchased the property back in 2020, and it's been on and off a short-term, long-term rental since then. They live in Oklahoma City. Their child went to JBU, and so they bought it basically as an investment property so they'd have a place to stay when they come to visit. They have lots of friends here and stuff. So they actually frequent the property. They're in town almost once a month, so we're often booking out weekends just for them. But it has been on and off in Airbnb back before we had the regulations. And so then it was a long-term, short-term rental. And then they contacted me last year to reactivate it as a short-term rental. And at the time, we were in that moratorium period where we thought the legislation law was going to pass. And so that's why this came back up, to actually get it approved officially. So. Yeah.
Thank you. My second question has to do with all the work that goes into this, and this is more for staff, and it's not a problem with this. It's just that at one time we were going to license these, and I thought that did pass the Planning Commission but was tabled by the City Board of Directors. And I think it's so much easier on both the applicant, on the staff who has to put all this work into it, to get everything up here for us to just literally say, yes, you can rent it for less than 30 days. Is there a plan to bring this back up so that we can do this in a way that would be more reasonable? And once licensed, it would stay licensed, and you could rent it for less than. And it would also have certain guidelines about monitoring it. Anybody can tell me? Help?
Excuse me, Chris Paxton. I'm the Director of Community Development. Tomorrow night, we're going to give a very short update to the Board of Directors. As of right now, that item has been tabled by the Board of Directors until a workshop is conducted. Right now, we're at the point where if we have an ordinance that is approved, it'll go through multiple rounds of readings. So we're kind of stuck between the idea of using additional staff time and then in January to February, we'll start open legislation. So we're going to make some recommendations to the board, and we'll see what their will is.
Thank you.
If it's all right, can I say something?
I'm sorry, sir. Come on up and give us your name and your address, please.
My name's Robert Cole Hubbard. I also live at 511 South Oak Hill. I'll try not to say anything additional to or repeat anything that's already been said by my father, who was up here a second ago. But just on another note, this wasn't something we necessarily wanted to do. We're not trying to
hamstring anybody from making an additional money. I know people have been doing Airbnbs for quite a while now. And like he said before, I have no problem with kids staying over there. For the most part, that was an issue. I did have a time or two myself have to go over there when they were having parties to tell them to kind of rein it in because how the lateness of the hour and everybody was asleep. My thing is, I've lived in that neighborhood my whole life, and it's always been families, old folks. It's been your typical residential neighborhood with the occasional problem, but usually those other people who lived in the neighborhood can be addressed by talking to those individuals because they had a stake in the neighborhood because they lived there. But now, it was like I said, one thing with kids, and now just total strangers all the time. You can't simply just go over there and talk to these people because you know who they are, and they might be gone before you even have a chance to get over there and try to deal with it. And as much as like that man said a minute ago about reaching out to somebody talking about it, when the people who own the place don't even live in the same state, it's kind of hard to address these issues in a timely manner before the issue's gone and can't do anything. It's like you also talk to the police and they can't do nothing either. Just frustration's one way to put it, but also sometimes makes you feel unsafe. In the last 10 years, I've seen more problems in my neighborhood than any time when I was growing up. I mean, just a couple Christmases ago, we had a junkie pass down our backyard. In the history, we've had people come up out of our back ditch stealing stuff off the back people's properties. Now, this is something we've always had to deal with, so we get used to it. But now that we're having people come in on a regular we don't know about, that just heightens everything. So I don't know if it makes any difference. I don't know if this is just something that's just going to have to once again become the norm, but I'd hate to see my neighborhood kind of get flipped over because we're having to deal with something that's an impossible situation. I mean, like I said, I don't want this family to have to lose out on making a money opportunity, but at the same time, I don't want it to be at our expense, so.
I understand. Thank you for your comments.
Just a question for staff again. Is it possible we could provide the guidelines for this approval to the Hubbards so that they would know what was out of line and they could call the agent? Have you been the agent before, Mr. Varnado, or is this a new thing for you so that they could get in touch with you? I think there are rules about the kind
Yes.
of activities.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe I started managing the property back in the fall of this year. Could have been summer, I'd have to look and see. But our company cell phone number is 479-215-9568. And I can assure you, if there's a problem, you can text me and I'll deal with it right away, so.
Thank you. And I know there are some regulations that go along with that. And if we
Absolutely,
could get
yeah.
that to the neighbors, that would be really nice because then they would know what's approved and what's not. Thank you.
You bet, thank you.
Remind me, staff, do we look at these annually? Or are they just approved once they're done?
I can speak on that. I believe part of the process for this is to get a business license, is that correct? Business licenses are dealt with annually through my administration over at the Community Development Department. When those go through the licensing process, I would assume that that's when we do review those. What we don't do is site inspections unless they're on a complaint basis. If we receive a complaint, whether it's for code enforcement or police enforcement, we would send out the respective agent depending on which item it would be. If it's a police action needed, for example, trespassing would fall under the police duties. If it's a property issue where they're not keeping up with the property, then that's where my code enforcement official would go over and deal with that. But yes, they are required to have a business license. I would state, and I'm not speaking for or against the project, but we have had good response from the applicant's representative and good communications with them. I don't know how that would portray to the neighbors of the property or not, but he's been very responsive to us. So if we have issues, we haven't had anything that hasn't been immediately addressed by the applicant.
I'm just thinking as a stakeholder, neighbor, I'd like to know where my teeth are if I need to reach out. I mean, it's nice to have a contact, but it sounds like through a complaint process, there could be a red flag raised for renewal next year.
And as far as the renewal for these, for the special use permit, I think that that would be different. That is separate than the business license. Once the special use permit is issued, then it stays with the property until it has a different use. If it goes back to a residential use or a long-term rental would fall under the residential use. The special use, a short-term rental would fall under more of a commercial type use. But once the use changes, I believe, Ben, help me out here, I think it's 6-month period, then it
Yes,
would fall back.
that's correct. If there's a period of 6 months where it's no longer used as a short-term rental, then it basically reverts back. But they don't have to be renewed as special use permits.
And there's no requirement to maintain the business licensing to hold that right.
Correct, yeah, just with any business in town, you have to have a business license to operate, so that would be true for short-term rentals as well.
And Mr. Chair, I would like to also ask my staff, since this is a special use permit, I don't know if the board, I think what the board is actually requesting, I don't know if I'm interpreting this correctly, you're asking if you can have conditions of approval on a special use permit. Is that what I'm gathering from some of the questions that I've heard from the board? Can you do conditions?
No, sir, I think the comments from Katie was that can we go back and look at the process that came before? We're not asking for conditions on special use.
All right, then yes, those items are going forward to the board still. So if you wanted to tune in tomorrow, I believe at 3 p.m., we will have a discussion with the board of directors regarding that, and that'll be in this room.
Thank you very much for that answer. I think what's happened here is we're thinking about this and we're concerned because we have neighbors who are talking about what's been happening. So my suggestion is that when we're going to have a special use permit, that we provide the neighbors with the criteria to be able to have a short-term rental, because I know there are guidelines and certain things can happen. I can't remember what they are, but we've reviewed them over the years, so that at least they would feel like they had recourse. And Mr. Varnado, who's the manager, doesn't know if nobody tells him that there's a problem. I know he's managed others, and I think he takes good care of them. But I think if nobody knows, then it continues to be a concern. That's my thought, is how can we do better communication with the neighborhood? Because we are literally putting a business in a neighborhood, temporarily at least.
And, so I think one thing to note is the special use permit is currently required. I believe with the recommended ordinance revision that would be going through the board if it moved forward after a workshop, then I believe at that point it would just be a business type license only, so it would no longer come to this body. Now, as far as the reviews and the requirements, they would still just fall under the general guidelines of the code.
To elaborate a little bit on what Chris said, the proposed ordinance was going to continue or propose very specific regulations for these types of uses, like not being used for parties or wedding receptions, for instance, parking requirements. So if you remember when I presented that a few months back, there was a lot of regulations with that. So what we were going to do is provide the regulations, but change the approval process to a staff level. So it wouldn't, people like Mr. Varnado wouldn't have to wait, 2 months is it? 3 months to go through and get an approval for something that could probably be done in really like about a week of staff time. Now, people that would object to that would have an opportunity to appeal staff's decision within 30 days of that decision being made. And that was the proposed ordinance. So it's just a proposal right now. So it really is up to the board of directors as to whether that continues forward or not.
Katie, but I will say all neighbors within 300 feet of this property were notified of this request for a short-term special use.
Right, I do know that, but I'm just saying the guidelines for having a short-term rental and what is okay and what isn't provided. I know they get all the letters and everything, and I think that's wonderful, and I get some in my neighborhood, and that's okay too. So I just think we need to be more transparent with what the rules and guidelines are, and hopefully it changes so we have something set up and it becomes an easier process for both those who want to have it and also the neighbors.
We'll say with our current process, we provide templates to the applicants for neighbor letter notifications. We could always ask them to add a phone number. And I don't know if that we could require it. I'd have to talk to Chris and Ben. But we could always ask, and if they wanted to, they could put it in those neighbor notification letters and say, reach out to this agent if you have questions.
We want to know what, yeah. Thank you.
Commissioners, I appreciate your comments and your thoughts on this. If there are no other comments.
All right, one more quick comment. Is there, in the ordinance or in anything we have, is there a process for revocation of a special use permit if there are continued violations at that property? Or are those handled on an individual basis by law enforcement or code enforcement if something's going on there?
I've not, sorry, is that coming through? I've not seen one revoked yet, but I believe the code does have abilities to, the city administrator might have the ability to do something along those lines. I would remind everyone that if there's a violation, say there's a noise issue, party, that can be handled through the existing regulations on the noise levels that are allowed in parking regulations. So you don't necessarily have to go after the special use permit.
Right.
You could just go after whatever violations in our nuisance code that would apply to that property as well. So.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, commissioners, are there any other comments or questions concerning this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on special use permit 24-07. Did I give the wrong number? Sorry about that. 24-01.
Appreciate the conversation today, Mr. Hubbard. Thank you for getting up and letting us know kind of what's going on there. Todd, I appreciate you being here. I think we've had some good conversation here today. But I do think, just based on a precedent we've set, we need to move forward with this. I would move approval, SU 24-01.
I have a motion to approve SU 24-01. Do I have a second?
Second.
I just have a question on my agenda. It says special use permit SU 2307 for 523. Do I have the wrong agenda?
That has been amended.
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. I printed that off at home. Okay.
Yeah, that was amended today.
Thank you. Then I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve SU 24-01 and a second. Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Kay Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes. Motion is approved. This will go to the Board of Directors on March the 5th, 2024. Next item on our agenda is code amendments.
Thank you. Kevin Moore, City Engineer. Tonight for your consideration is an amendment to the existing master street plan. This is a very small amendment. We're looking at a larger, kind of more holistic amendment later in the year. But this is to update the process for dedicating right-of-way when the proposal varies from what's in the master street plan. Just to be clear, we're not changing the street classification of any streets or providing additional kind of design standards or section options, not changing fees or anything like that. What we're really digging into is Section 3 and adding an appeal process as well. But currently, Section 3.2 reads that the city engineer and then as recommended by the city engineer and then approved by the board of directors whenever right-of-way varies from what's in the master street plan. So that distinction is important because, as you know, we've updated our process to where small-scale subdivisions, minor subdivisions like lot consolidations, lot line adjustments, things like that come to you all now instead of going to the board. So used to, these would go to the board and that would take care of itself as the board's approval of any variation in that right-of-way. But now, since those come to you, we're having to separately go to the board to get them to approve our determination of a right-of-way. This wording from section 3.2.3 specifically for collector streets, and we moved that out to cover all street classes. And so now, whenever they're doing a minor subdivision, they would, if they wish to vary, they would make that request. And then myself as city engineer and staff, we would review that and make a recommendation of right-of-way width, whether that be down one or up one, then we would approve that at the staff level. And then if they wish to vary by more than that, it would need to be approved by the board of directors as it is today. Also, since we're taking that out from something that automatically goes to the board, we've added an appeal process in the same section of code. That $100 fee is similar to our other appeal processes. That's where that comes from. And then the board's decision, either overturning or ratifying the city engineer's recommendation, would be final at that point. There would be no additional appeal. And with that, staff's available for any questions. Again, this is really a process change, and then we have a larger code update that would be later on this year with the Unified Development Code.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions or concerns on the code amendment? Well, hearing no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you.
I need a motion. Do I need a motion, Chris, to approve this?
This would be a motion to forward this to it's a motion to forward this to the Board of Directors for consideration with the recommendation from the.
In a motion to forward this to the Board of Directors with a recommendation for approval.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to forward the code amendment to the Board of Directors with approval, or with a recommendation of approval. Roll call, please.
Kay Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard.
Yes.
Motion is approved, and it'll be forwarded to the Board of Directors, I'm assuming, on March the 5th. Okay, next item on the agenda is an update to the master street plan. Oh, that's what we just did. I'm sorry. Next is easement assessments. What am I missing here? Easement acceptance.
Acceptance.
Mr. Chair, this is easement acceptances. This is any easements that would need to be accepted by the Planning Commission in order for those to be, that's how we ratify those through the city.
Finalized. And I have them up on the screen for you guys this time, so you can take a look at all the easements that you are accepting, and staff is available for any questions that you have. These are our staff-approved projects for this month. You also received your list on the back of your agenda, I believe, with the other staff-approved projects and board-approved projects. So let me know if you have any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, the easements are on the board. Do you have any questions or concerns? All right, hearing no concerns from their commissioners. I'll entertain a motion to accept the easements as presented. Go ahead. Okay, these are staff approved. Do I need to get a motion from the commissioners? I thought so. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the easement that the staff approved?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the easement as presented.
I have a motion to accept the easements, approvals. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Song,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Yes.
Bernard, Williams.
Yes.
Okay, good. Next item on the agenda is board and staff approved permits. You have copies of those permits. Are there any questions on the board approved projects? Hearing no comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.